everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cathartic Runiation. Yeah, finger guns!
Bang, 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 bang. Okay.
So, tonight we have a very lovely cast. We have our regulars.
Nick B.
Yeah, and...
Shot Don, finally.
I
again.
know. When was the last time you did a Cathartic Runiation?
Months.
It's been forever. And then I have my special guest tonight. This will be the second lady I've had on my show, and my guest D. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And that is D as in dynamite, D as in Deborah, D as in dong. whoa, sorry.
Beat me to it.
My bad. D as in my ding ding dong.
Diamond. Coming to the stage.
Oh,
We really went there, didn't we?
West Side
I just
Diamond.
wanted everyone to understand where we were coming from.
Dynamite Deborah coming to the stage.
So tonight we are going to talk about identity disorders mostly, and not like the identity disorder where people have multiple personalities. That's called like a identity disorder now, but specifically just about identity growing up and how we have all had different experiences learning about who we are and having a sense of identity and how it impacts you as a kid and as an adult. And but first things first, guys, I got to ask Dee over here the question I ask every new person I come on my show, and that is,
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
what does your father do?
I don't know. Never met the man in my life.
No, but seriously, my question to you is, don't look so scared.
I'm fine. I'm ready.
What
You were ready.
is something
Be afraid.
that
Be
you
very
wish
afraid.
you had learned about sexual education before you growing up, like as a kid? Especially from a woman's perspective. I am muy interested.
Well, yeah, I've been out of the loop for a while. All right.
I just wish I wasn't taught like sex was bad. Like, I don't know. Like, everybody wants to say sex is bad. Don't have sex. Sex is this. Don't do it. And it's really not a bad thing. Like, obviously, if you're doing it at a young age and, they don't want you to have kids and all that good stuff. But, like, I don't know, like, actual sex questions. I mean, I don't really have any, but growing up, it was always taught that it was bad, and it's not bad.
No, I think that's like a really good point, actually, and especially because you're religious and your family's like religious, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was it like from a religious perspective or just like
Or was it preaching that abstinence is the only true way?
I think
kind of
that's
thing.
just the way they were. I don't know, which is crazy because, my grandmother had 8 kids, back then that's what they did. They
but
had
we
all
don't
these
talk
kids.
about how they got here.
Right, but I don't know. It was just always a bad thing. Like, sexuality was bad. You just didn't. And I don't understand why. Like, even with my kids, my daughter, she's 16. She's an open lesbian, and she came out at an early age, which I feel is cool because she was comfortable enough to come to her parents.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome that you gave her the environment that she actually felt comfortable to come and talk to her parents about it, because not a lot of kids have that, and
Yeah.
I think that's
at
pretty
all.
cool.
To an extent, yes, but that's a whole nother topic on how I reacted to that. But yeah.
Did you feel like you had a negative reaction to it?
Oh, I definitely had a negative reaction.
Oh, interesting.
Again, because we were raised, you don't do that. You're not gay. You're not lesbian. And
Yeah.
Whatever, whatnot. So, being in an interracial marriage, you didn't do that. Like,
Oh, wow.
It was just, I don't know. My family is very
So
just different.
What,
It was more of a tradition thing.
Yeah, I would say
Let
so.
alone something that you personally felt any issue about. What is tradition if it's not just peer pressure from the dead?
yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, literally. That's
Yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of in the same environment where interracial relationships was highly frowned upon. From one side of my family, another side of the family, it was kind of like, I mean, it was there, it was prevalent.
Yeah.
It was still looked down upon, but, it showed me that love has no boundaries. Love doesn't have a race.
Yeah.
You know, so
A race or a gender.
gender,
or,
you know what I mean?
I knew at a very young age that I was attracted to black men.
Yeah.
Very young age. So when my daughter came to me and was like, you know, I like girls, and I flipped out like, no, you don't. You're young. You don't even, you know, you've never
Yeah.
even experienced a boyfriend. You don't
How
know
old
what
was, how old was she when she came to you?
So she's probably about 13, 14.
I,
She was in 8th grade probably.
I think that was about how old I was when I told my mom that I liked girls, because I had my first kiss with a girl in the Skate City bathroom, and
I kissed a girl and I liked it. Oh, no, we're not doing
taste
that.
of her cherry chapstick. Yeah, I did, and I told my mom, and she had the same reaction. She was not happy, but we were like super religious, and growing up, you know, my grandmother would definitely has told me I'm going to hell because of the choices that I make for religion and my sexuality. So it wasn't far-fetched that my mom, you know, was going to have similar reaction. But she's a lot better about it now, growing up with me and having a queer-ass kid. Now, when my other siblings are having
They're showing
identity,
signs.
showing signs of identity, you know, like just wanting to learn about who they are and figure out who they are. My mom's handling it way better with them because of what happened with me, and I've told her as an adult, like, the way you reacted and how you did what you did to me literally scarred me from being able to like experience my own sexuality in a way that I felt comfortable with myself, because my own mother couldn't accept it. So for me, it always felt wrong. So I think it's very interesting that you're able to look at it from that perspective and like realize like, hey, I didn't react very well about
I
this.
didn't. Not at all. Very
But
bad.
it sounds like you have a different feeling about it now than you did.
The same night, I had to take a step back. I mean, it was pointed out to me that I was not being very mature about it, and to go gather myself together and do what I need to do. But like, this is, you know, our daughter. We need, you know, this is not the support that we need to be giving her.
Yeah.
And then I went in the other room and I just started thinking about, again, how I knew I was attracted to black men at a young age, way younger than she was. So why couldn't she be attracted to girls? And then I just started thinking about a lot of things, like, and that led up to saying, okay, well, this is who my baby is. And I honestly, now I don't give a damn. Like, that's the least of my worries. Like,
That's fair.
That's my girl. That's
Well,
my
same kind of thing. Like when my one daughter, you know, she was terrified to tell me, you know, that she liked girls too.
Yeah.
Girls and boys, you know. And so her mom called me and like tried to coach me through it. And I'm like it was fucked up, because
like statistically, we were bound. One of them was bound to be gay. Sorry.
no, but like it was fucked up because when her mom presented it to me, I started laughing. Like I'm gonna lie, I started laughing hysterically. She's like, "What the fuck is so funny?" I was like, "My brother's gay, my sister's gay, my uncle's gay. I got a gay auntie." I was like, "You think this bothers me?" Well, like, she's embarrassed and she's upset, and you know, I was like, "Just put her on the phone." And put my daughter on the phone, and she started talking about it. She's like, "Dad, you know, I don't want you." And what broke my heart, she's like, "Dad, I don't want you to hate me."
Yeah.
But and I was like, I stopped her right there. I was like, "I'm not gonna hate you." I was like, "If this is what you feel, that's what you feel." I said, "You're my daughter regardless."
Yeah.
I said, "It doesn't bother me." I was like, "I've told you about your aunt.
Yeah.
I've told you about your uncle." You know, I said, "I told you my experiences growing up, you know, with having gay relatives, gay friends in school and stuff." It's like it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
You know, my other daughter, same thing. You know, she felt that she liked girls and stuff too, and it's the same thing. You know,
It really has nothing to do with you. Like,
and I was
who,
like,
who you're attracted to is not really my business
I told her,
anyway.
I was like, I don't care. I was like, and my thing is, like, the only thing that bugged me about it is like they were more worried about how I was going to react. And I'm
because I think it's like a normal reaction. Like Dee was saying, you know,
the way you were raised.
Yeah, like those generational traumas get brought down generation after generation, and until you take the time to break that shit, it's going to run over, and that's going to be your initial, like, your hard wiring, you know, like that's just your computer programming. Initially, you're going to have that reaction, and I think that it's not easy for people to come to a point where they can look and be like, just because people felt this way in my past or taught me, I'm supposed to react
that
or
way.
think a certain way doesn't mean that I have to, doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that it's wrong either. I hate that black and white.
Yeah.
That black and white idea of it has to be right or wrong.
Yeah.
The ideology of it's one way or the other, which is still interesting to me because you all had very differentiating experiences when it comes to sex growing up, which my only talk that I had with my mother is never bring a white woman home. That's
Yeah.
it. That was
Yeah,
That
I
was
heard that
it.
one too.
There was nothing else. There was no used condoms. I heard used condoms when I brought what would soon be somebody who's relevant in my life to meet her, and I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
That's when I heard used condoms. But it was by far too late.
Do you think it's because you were a male, or because of your race, or like your race, or?
If you were to look at my childhood pictures, you would agree with my family that they all thought I was gay.
Oh,
Nobody said anything until I brought women home,
And
which
they were
again
like,
was in my 20s.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I kind of went through the same thing.
They all thought I was gay, but what they didn't realize is I didn't bring girlfriends home. I didn't talk to girls on the phone because we lived in a house with no running water, no electricity, and it smelled like everybody was using the bathroom in a house with no running water and no electricity. I was
Yeah.
ashamed of where I lived. And even so, they weren't there.
Yeah.
My mother would take time to go and find a motel room to do her drug of choice with her person of choice. And me and my brother were left alone for days at a time.
Yeah.
So even if I did bring them home, they wouldn't have known.
Fair.
So yeah, I was a very skinny, very frail, very feminine looking little boy with pigtails, mind you. So yeah, they thought I was gay, and so what can a heterosexual woman tell a gay little boy
see.
about sex other than just don't bring a white woman home?
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that too. Don't bring a white woman home. And I've always dated outside my race. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had black girlfriends. You know, like I can count how many black girlfriends I've had on one hand and not go past 3.
It's honestly the same. And
You know,
it's
like-
and it's not as if I'm aiming to do that. It's just that's who I click with.
Exactly. You know, in like one instance, it was literally where I lived. It was like I don't want to say I didn't really have a choice, but pickings were scarce. You know what I
Damn.
mean? And the ones that were attracting me, I couldn't fucking stand. You know,
no,
or they just never approached me in that manner at that point in time. You know, until like years later. You know, it was like, well, that ship sailed. You know, but I've always dated outside my race, and it's not because I don't like my race. It's none of that at all. It's just my heart tells me who to love. And that's
Honestly,
what
I
love.
didn't think about it like that growing up. Like I wasn't prevalent and like really had the concept of race until I was much, much older. Like I was borderline an adult before I started thinking about race to that degree, or anyone talking to me about dating outside my race. And culturally, I think that's just different because I was raised by a white woman. And so we didn't have the same types of talks, like my cult-like religious background growing up, you know. It was a very different experience, and I didn't learn about race and identity and like being black and everything until I was like much older as an adult. Even now it's like frustrating, like we'll be all in a group and talking about just like pop culture references, and I don't get them a lot of the time because I don't have the experience of watching a lot of the movies or
Yeah, but now you do know who's the baddest mofo low down around this town.
yes, and not to go into the champagne the champagne room, right? No sex happens in the champagne room. That's right. I know now.
No matter what she says, there is no sex in the champagne room. There's champagne. All right, let's go.
Well, and I just think that's like crazy how that can really form your identity and who you are as a person. Like me and Dee were talking about not that long ago about doing like the ancestry thing,
Yeah.
and then you know me and Nick had talked about it before too because I know he's done it, and then you were telling me how you did it.
Yeah.
I've done
and
it too on my own.
I really want
It's crazy.
to.
Like Trace, my
Honestly,
family
it
tree
wa-
was crazy.
Really? You guys all have done it? I'm the only one who hasn't done it?
Actually, well, you've discussed it. I have never done it.
Oh, I thought you said you
no,
had. I'm
you
sorry.
are confusing me with Cinnamon, who has gone and found out all of the plantation owners that have owned
His family.
his lineage. Yeah, no, I have not done it.
Yeah, my
you
family
want
history
to?
is just crazy.
For the sake of my sanity, after eventually finding out how many cousins I've banged, no.
Wow.
Yeah, if I find out we're cousins, I'm gonna be pissed.
Oh no.
Let's be fucking real. I mean,
Oh, I'm writing a whole skit on that
We can't
shit.
What?
even have kids, it's fine.
when it comes down to it, if your family has roots in somewhere generations back, nah, your cousins is fucking.
Realistically, no, because
Well,
we were actually talking about like just the genealogical science of behind it, you know, like Punnett squares, and you trace things back. When you just look at the amount of people that have existed on the planet compared to taking it back to your great 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 grandparents, there aren't enough people in the world for there to be you not to be related.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just insane. Like
And then-
everyone's a little bit incestuous, and we
That's
didn't
crazy.
know.
Especially Utah.
Fuck, man.
Again, you have to understand that when it comes to racist thoughts, when it comes to bigotry, to keep the bloodline pure, you have to stay
In the bloodline.
in the
And
bloodline.
we've talked about that
crazy.
before on the main podcast.
Yeah.
You know, we touched on that, like especially in Europe, where a lot of royal families, you know, they kept it literally in the family.
Look
Well,
like
yeah,
little
and then they had
hobgoblins
like some
with crowns.
serious ass like
Yeah.
disorders and like
I was just
problems.
gonna ask that. Like, how did them kids not come out?
Oh,
Like, have you?
No, it did. Like one of the French, one of the
one we me and you talked about.
yeah, one of the French kings. Was it King?
I can't remember his name, but
Henry,
yeah,
maybe.
he came out.
Oh man, he
fucked
had
up
like a really bad. He got sick like all the time.
Yeah, he was fucked up.
and
like,
had like hemoglobin issues, and also like when he would like get hurt or he couldn't even like go outside.
yeah, he
and
made Quasimodo look like Prince Charming.
if he would
Goddamn
like
bubble
bump
boy.
into something or get cuts, he would like bleed
Bleed,
out to
yeah.
a point where he was. I think there was also like Russian families that had that issue as well.
You don't even have to go all the way back then.
Rasputin was like really big on healing those families
Yeah. Have
with
you-
his dick. Oh,
Have
sorry.
you seen those reports where they reconstructed what Cleopatra actually looked like with her club foot?
yeah,
I think we talked
That
about
broad
it.
was like 4 foot nothing, like 300 pounds.
What?
She was nothing to look at. Cleopatra was a fucking mutt.
yeah. There was speculation that the image they portrayed of her, that we've all come to know, is was actually one of her. I don't want to say servant, but they called him something
Probably a
else.
slave.
Yeah, something like that, but someone
Probably
like
a
that,
slave.
you know,
Probably her
Knowing the
fluffer.
that they,
Egyptians.
well, no, but yeah, you know what I'm
Slave.
saying. So, but no, I was like, it's crazy. Like when I get my history, like, and I did it for myself. You know,
Well, you kind of have to, especially like I said, the whole concept of having an identity and learning about yourself and being able to pass that on to your kid and just give them a sense of who they are based on their genes doesn't always get passed down to you by your parents, and you kind of have to figure out on your own. I know Dee was telling me like you guys don't even speak Spanish proper like in your family, right?
No. Well, no.
And then when I was asking you why, like we went into this whole discussion about how, what did you say? Your family just came over at a time where speaking English was.
Yeah, because like my grandmother's American. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? My great grandmother's American. Great grandfathers fought in wars, all that stuff. So like we're American.
Yeah.
But yeah, my grandmother, I asked not too long ago, like, why doesn't my mom know Spanish? Like, why didn't you teach your kids? Like, a couple of my aunties married Mexicans, so, you know, like, so they know Spanish and then their kids know Spanish, but like, my mom was never taught, like, they were never taught as young kids. And my grandmother said because they were looked down upon, like, you didn't let people know that you knew a second language, like
was a different time then.
you were automatically degraded, you were automatically looked down upon, which is sad because that's how they took our language from us. Like, I so wish that my beautiful brown babies would just come out there and speak in Spanish, like, you know what I'm saying, they're black, like, come out and
Yeah.
speak Spanish, and I hate that I didn't. My
But you-
mom wasn't taught to teach me to teach them.
But you got to remember, in this country, which I'll let everybody else do their own research, but in June of 1954 is when they enacted Operation Wetback to remove Mexicans from the state.
Yep.
In Colorado?
The
whole
whole
country.
goddamn U.S.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Operation Wetback is a thing that really exists. It happened in
I've never heard
1954.
of that. That's crazy.
Yes.
And actually
Yes.
lasted. It actually lasted well into the fucking 60s as a covert operation.
Because first it was to bring them in here to help with,
Labor.
again,
Of course.
do your own research on that. And then once they served their purpose, get the fuck out. So any white passing Spanish, Mexican, yeah.
So nothing's
We're
changed.
not talking that stuff in this house.
Yeah.
There's a reason. There's a valid reason other than
Wow.
just feeling a type of way about their own people.
Yeah. Well, that's like really interesting, the history and the culture aspect from your perspective, because I'm not Hispanic for sure, so I wouldn't have that perspective of it. Then it's a more recent time than even slavery, where that was, even though that's a very different style of prejudice and very different type of generational trauma, this is even more recent than slaves being freed. So that's fucking insane.
Yeah, I remember.
That's like-
I remember in history, American history, I was like, we're learning about slavery and all that stuff, and I was like, asked my Mr. Grammerstorff, shout out to him, he's a great teacher, but he was like, I said, well, what we're going on with Hispanics and Latinos and stuff like that, and he was like, it gives me this look, and he was like, that's a whole long topic, and like, he didn't disregard me, but he still didn't give me answers, but he let me know that like, you got to do your own history on that, girl.
Yeah.
Type of thing, so.
And don't do any of your research in Texas where they literally have in their textbooks slavery was not in slavery, it was immigration.
No. Whoa. Because remember, I went to Texas public schools.
Yeah, this was recently
Yeah,
that they decided to
wow.
make that change.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they changed the word from slavery to immigration. But like when I was in high school in Texas, and all my people that went to high school with me that live in Texas, you can attest to this.
Bless you.
Like American history,
Enough.
they didn't. The American history books in Texas don't say jack shit about slavery. Texas history, literally, there is a single 4-sentence paragraph in the textbook about slavery.
Which is insane, because they should them being the ones who were like the last to let slaves go in the fucking
and it literally says that,
civil war.
It said basically slavery lasted from this time to this time, which was grossly inaccurate, and then they tried to make light of
The Emancipation Proclamation.
well, they tried to make light of Texas being the last state of the Union to free slaves.
Yeah.
They made light of it, and they try to put a twist on it, like Texas was great about it when they
do
let
that
the
about
slaves. Like,
fucking
get the
everything.
fuck out of here,
Like,
man.
they literally have a law right now that is an attack on reproductive rights, in my personal opinion. Like,
Yeah.
if you anything after 6 weeks of knowing when you were pregnant, how many times have you had kids?
3 times.
And how many times did you find out you were pregnant around 6 weeks before or after?
Okay, so I actually miscarried before,
Samesies.
and then I had 3 children. So
Yeah.
it was probably about 4 or 5 weeks when I found out.
And then if you decide that you want to have some type of major life-altering situation, you got a few days or a week at most to make that decision. And I didn't find out I was pregnant till easily about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I would have not even been able to get one. I was in Texas when I did find out I was pregnant. And that just blows my fucking mind, that when I found out I was pregnant, I would not have been able to get an abortion if I wanted one.
See, and it's states like Texas which made things like Juneteenth so goddamn prevalent.
Yeah.
And no matter how they word these things in textbooks, you don't even have to finish the 13th Amendment to realize something ain't right here. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except. Bam, right there. Except. What the fuck do you mean except?
Yeah. Well, that's why I try to tell people, like, the flag and all of these freaking laws and rules that we have instigated, even the Bill of Rights, like, these weren't created for specific type of people. A lot of people who still even lived in this country at the time where these laws, when they immigrated over, the laws weren't meant for them because they weren't people necessarily in the eyes of the government at that point.
Still not people.
Well, yeah, and they were able to just finish the laws and upgrade them slowly throughout time, but realistically, those laws were not created for us. When the 4th of July happened, black people were still slaves.
Yeah, no shit.
And when it really comes down to it, with all this stuff combined, it brings us right back to the topic that you brought up today. Who the hell am I? What is my identity? Why is it if I'm here, I call Rashad black, that's just expected? If we go to any other country with dark-skinned people and we call them black, they'll look at us like, what the fuck did you just mean?
Yeah, even if the country is rich in the history of the slave trade, like there are many Caribbean countries and Spanish countries that they were highly part of the slave trade, you know?
Dominican Republic,
that slave
Puerto
trade
Rico.
was massively
Brazil,
dictated by
Argentina.
Spaniards.
And it's a very interesting
Spaniards
thing.
were pretty bad people.
Yes.
Spaniards helped with the slave trade, and they made a shit ton of money off of it.
Oh,
That's
hell
why.
yeah.
That's why you do have Latinos, you know,
Yeah, but don't
in
call
Mexico.
them that.
Well, now that's what they. Some of them do want to be called.
True.
You know, like there's literally. Well, now they're considered a city, but there's an area in Mexico up until about last year where there are dark-skinned Mexicans, and they were shunned.
Yeah.
Like they got nothing. They were treated like they were fucking mutants. And these are some of the most beautiful people, most respectful people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
You know, and it took hundreds of years for them to be recognized for what they are.
That makes sense.
You know,
that tracks.
they are they are descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You'll say Dominican Republic, same thing. Puerto Rico, same thing. You know,
Shit, even
Haiti, same
Cuba.
thing. Cuba, yeah, all that. It's the same fucking thing. You know,
And
they've
when-
all been shunned because they are a darker shade, and it's fucked up.
And it's very crazy because, again, we're now in a situation where we think black is a color instead of a value, which we all know it's a value. It means there's nothing. It equates to nothing, while white is everything and has everything in it. Put us next to these goddamn values, we are not that shade. And now in this country, we have black culture,
Yeah.
which is a culture based on a value because we don't actually know our own, so we had to come up with our own while here making the best out of a terrible situation.
Unfortunately, that's a great summary of it.
It is.
So you have your black culture, and then they want to say, well, we want to preserve our white culture. You don't have a white culture. White culture does not exist.
It's just
Irish culture exists.
yeah.
Scottish culture.
Scottish culture damn sure exists. You can be a Viking all goddamn day. I
Shout
can
out to my daughter.
assume I'm a Zulu warrior. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
There is no way for me to find out. All I
Because
can
black
find out
culture, you're right, is just a blend. Like literally, the whole concept of it is our identities were taken away. We were blended together from all parts of a specific country, and then generation after generation, which people were fucking their family members for breeding purposes. We don't fucking know the incest levels to the degrees of chattel, human cattle, and you know that shit is fucking insane. Let's not even go there, but. Yeah, there is no identity, so you're right, they had to create their own because we don't know where we fucking come from.
Exactly. And when it's a positive thing, it is taken by what they want to call white culture. It is whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will leave us the scraps and they'll say, well, this is the unappealing part of it.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, me growing up in these certain areas, there are certain things about this culture that I do not like.
Yeah.
Facts.
And I will not just go in with it just to be around my people. Because when it really comes down to it, my people aren't necessarily a shade of anything. My people will be like, hey, how do you feel about the Marvel movies?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I feel you. That's probably more my people I'd identify with
Yeah,
versus actual black culture. I have no fucking clue. You could put me in the middle of the hood and I would not know what I'm doing wrong and how to get out of there. Probably wouldn't do well.
Like honestly,
Like even growing up in the hood, you know, it's still hard to identify. You know what I mean?
definitely.
No.
You know, especially
Please elaborate.
well, like growing up out here, where me and Nick grew up, and growing up in Park Hill, where we've both lived too. You know,
Oh yeah.
there's always been a divide between the races. You know what I mean? Always. Very rarely, especially me being slightly older, where we didn't get along with anybody outside our race.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of raised that way.
Yeah.
You know? And me being the type of person I was growing up, being the type of kid I was, I didn't see that. You know, I didn't care if you're white, Mexican, Vietnamese, whatever. I had friends of all races.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
but
we're all here in this slum.
Exactly, but you know, I got bullied, I got shunned, I got beat up because of certain people I would hang with. You know, and it was until I got a little older, you know, towards middle school and whatnot, where I continued to hang out with whoever the fuck I wanted to hang out with. You know, and I just stood my fucking ground. You know what I mean? And going to a school where we had every race. You know, predominantly black students. You know, but we all got along because we, as a collective, stopped dividing ourselves because we knew we were better united,
Yeah.
in a sense. And luckily, we had teachers that saw that and taught that to us. You know,
Because our parents weren't.
yeah, like my parents, like, and nothing really bad against my parents was like Nick went through. You know, like don't bring no white girl home. Okay, well, I like Spanish girls, so is that okay?
It's like, first of all, there's very few of them out here any goddamn
You
way.
know, but like the funny thing with that is, like, I remember the first time my dad, I was very young, he told me, don't you ever bring a white girl home. And what kind of prompted the divorce of my parents is my dad got caught with a white woman.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that was,
See,
He was like, Uno reverse card.
and it's a
oh,
very,
it was funny.
it's a very interesting thing that he just touched upon because again, we are told, don't bring a white girl home. We're not really told why. Then
Yeah.
we're like, oh, well, you know what? Just watch this movie. And it's like, that doesn't really explain much of anything. This is that
Yeah,
person's
this is-
story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is not Compton. Like, why are you making me watch this? And then, again, we are told to hate white women because of stuff they saw in the movies or possibly some stuff they saw in real life. Again, we don't really know most of our parents' history because they only tell us what they want us to know.
And our
Exactly.
But
and
when it-
especially like our parents are from this generation where talking about your feelings is just like a waste of time and unheard of. I swear. Like even my parents, I can't get them to like confront and evaluate their own bullshit for nothing. And I'm just like, how do you not have accountability? Like what?
I was,
but here's the
Where
thing.
did
I was
your
lucky. I was
accountability
lucky in an
go?
aspect where, like, my parents were very open. In some cases, honestly, I believe they were too open. They didn't bullshit us kids.
I'd rather have that.
You know,
I
they
would have
like.
rather had that too.
I mean, they didn't. I mean, there was things they sheltered us from because they didn't want us to experience or go down that road or whatever. But at the same time, you know, my parents, they kept it 100, and I honestly I thank them for that to an aspect. I mean, there were things I was exposed to and told about that at the age I was told I shouldn't have fucking known.
Yeah.
You know, but looking back on it now, you know, hindsight, you know, I'm not mad at it now.
Yeah.
You know, because I like even with my kids, you know, I keep it 100 with them,
Me too.
but I talk to them on their level.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's certain things like even now, you know, I've still got 3 kids in high school. There's still things that I have not talked to them about that I've experienced. Well, because luckily they haven't had to experience themselves, but I know at their ages, their respective ages, I'm not ready to have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
But when they hit a certain age, let's talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
But even at the point now, their ages, if they come up to me and ask me a question about something I'm not going to talk about, I'm going to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to break it down on their level so they understand, you know.
I think that's just like the most important part of trying to break through the bullshit that we grew up with and trying to not make the same mistakes with our kids that we were made with us and why we have fucking issues. You know, it's just like giving them the room to actually be able to ask these questions and actually like feel comfortable being like, I might not like the answer, but I know that I can go to my parents and talk to them about some real life shit.
This fucked up society raised them, which has happened to a lot of these kids, where society, the media, and everything, all outside sources are what's raising these kids and giving these kids their fucking mindsets, you know. And then as parents, when we try to talk to them about certain things, that's why they snap back. That's why they are such a culture of pussies.
And one of those things that they're taking with them, which is somewhat truthful information, but it's been skewed a little bit, is you are a youth in 2021. There are avenues to learn or take over things 1,000 different ways. You cannot blame everything that has happened to you directly on a white person unless you have actually seen that happen to you. Like me personally, I can't go into a job site and say they didn't hire me because I'm black, because I've been hired because I am black in most cases.
They're like, we need diversity, and he's not one of those niggas.
And then I go up in these companies. And then I go up in these companies because of what I can actually do. But there's way too many goddamn times that I will lay down, turn on, say, let's TikTok or Instagram, and you will see a black little boy or a black little girl acting a complete fucking ass at work. And then 2 days later, you'll see a reply video saying, well, they let the white person get away with it, but you knew you were not white. And you knew you would not get away with it, and you did dumb shit. Absolutely dumb shit anyway, knowing what would happen. Kind of like, again, call me a coon, call me whatever the fuck you want. We know our lives are in danger every time we get pulled over by the cops. You think whipping out your phone gives you the right to yell at this fucking trigger happy motherfucker?
No.
And I'm supposed to feel bad if you get shot? No. You don't have a right to do this. Yes, I do. No, you bet. You know who the fuck you are and who the fuck you are facing down. And you are choosing to act this way.
There's ways to stand your ground and do it in a way that, well, regardless, in their eyes, you're a danger. You're a threat.
Your skin is a weapon.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly, you know, but there are ways to, even if you're going to pull your phone out, record the altercation, the situation, whatever you want to call it. You know, if you want to record it and have it work in your favor, do it the right way, which is hard to say what the right way is, because there are going to be those officers that are going to push those buttons.
Well, and contributing factors in general, like something that I have been doing a lot of reading about is studies on how social media and the access to misinformation is impacting our youth. And a lot of the issues, like us growing up, we were in 2 worlds. We were in the world of developing technology, but we were also in the world of our parents who have no fucking clue about developing technology. And that we all fall into that category where we have a foot in both worlds. So I feel like we're more grounded as a generation. But then we have kids who live in this instant gratification world. And that is just something that's really prevalent now. Like, even you can even say yourself, like, if it's within 30 seconds, if I'm not getting something out of this, I will completely drop it and go on to something else. And that's how a lot of these kids are being raised, with that concept of instant gratification, which affects your serotonin levels. Literally, like TikTok and things like that, and getting likes and stuff, it impacts the way your brain develops chemically. And Facebook has been doing studies on it. I just read an article the other day about scientists who put out this petition to actually like force Facebook to give over the statistics that they have, taking information on Facebook and Instagram and any other social medias on how kids are responding and reacting to growing up on social media. And the impact is, they're finding out it's very negative, especially on children who, image-wise and identity-wise, kids are growing up without that sense of identity, because there's so much that they're processing at all times, and they don't have the proper amount of time to process things. That's something we've talked about in the past before. Everything that you're seeing in one day, you go to sleep and the next day you're starting over again, and your brain is developing and you're learning, but you're not having the time to process a lot of things that happen to you, and not properly teaching your brain how to be wired correctly, so they don't know how to fucking function in the real world.
Yeah.
And that's fucking devastating. Like, how do we combat that?
I don't know if we can, because unless Rashad has something that he has planned in the next 2 weeks, there's not going to be an extinction level event that's going to knock this progression off of the chart and make it, back into the Stone Age.
Yeah, true.
Because right now, I can make computers do amazing things, while this guy can build a goddamn house. If that ELE happens, one of our fucking, jobs is going to be useful, while the other one's going to be, the fuck you think you're doing?
Yep.
No, you're still good for, like, picking up heavy things.
Anybody can do that.
No.
And well, actually, that's a
I
conversation
need you
that
to
we had
reach
in the
things
car
up
that we'll
high and open
talk
jars
about-
and
we'll
shit.
talk
Like, I'm
about later.
keeping you around. No worries. But Rashad, you're on the apocalypse team. Don't worry.
I'm a level 5. I'm a level 5.
But yeah, no, I just think that
For 40 minutes.
I think that that's a good amount of time to talk about providing the next generations the room to be able to have a safe environment to ask questions, to talk to you. And I think that's just the hardest part about being any type of role model or leader, is just giving people room to make mistakes and grow and find out who the fuck they are without making them feel like shit about it. And I mean,
And not
relationships,
poisoning them with your own.
relationships period, it's
Yeah.
hard for us to do that as humans, because you always, even I want to fucking take everything and make it my own and champion it, or I want to get offended by something that doesn't have anything to do with me. And I think it's hard for us not to initially feel that way. We had this conversation the other day where he was like, that's something I just don't respect about you. And I'm like, cool, well, that's something I'm proud of about myself, because I don't, feel like me having empathy towards other people, that's not something everyone can even fucking do. So the fact that I can do it, like, I think it's an amazing quality, and I don't really care if you don't feel that way about it.
We all got quirks about ourselves that the next person may or may not like.
Well, and the point is that we should be able to come together and not agree on things, not be the same people, but also not get offended, and like not be able to have a relationship or talk about it or anything. Like, that's what I love about my relationships with my friends and my family and my loved ones, is that the people that I choose to keep around me and associate with on a regular basis, like, I can have those hard conversations with them. That's not something I can do with most people, and most people have the ability to do. I can't call up my parents and get to the nitty gritty without them getting offended. I can do that in my relationship, and that's something that I think we just need to try and focus on, no matter what we're going through.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess another good way to sum it up is, like you're saying, giving the new generation an opportunity to express themselves, be themselves and whatnot, is the generation prior needs to stop poisoning the next generation with things that have
Traumatized them?
Yeah, traumatize them. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Like, that's traumatize them, or, a learned behavior, don't become a product of your environment. And if you are a product of your environment, allow that next generation to break that cycle.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't make facts.
Yeah, don't make them a product of the same environment.
Yeah.
Does white privilege exist? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. But is there still some kind of indoctrination that we get from older black people to just automatically hate all of them, or hate or mistrust all of them? Fuck yeah.
Well, yeah, and the privilege wheel is way different than it was whenever they were growing up. Like, I literally had my therapist give me documentation of what she had to learn, like, culturally about privilege. And man, like, you think you have it hard as a black person in a white man's world? Try being handicapped or mentally disabled in an abled person's world. Like, it's fucking hard being severely mentally ill in a regular person's world. Like, so I think that goes for many different aspects, but I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. And thanks again, everybody, for being comfortable enough to share their experiences and talk with me about it. Thank you, Dee, for coming and talking about your experience and being on the show. I hope you had a good time.
I did. It was great. Thank you.
Yay!
Yay.
And this has been another episode of Cathartic Runiation, and your host, Diana, signing off. Everyone else?
Shot none.
Peace
I'm out.
out.
Hey.
D.
All right, bye.
Bye.